All right. Will the 49ers beat the Arizona Cardinals? I'll answer that at the end of the show. Right now, I can tell you it's going to be hot on Sunday at Levi Stadium. It's very pleasant up here in the city, but it's also 8:21 p.m. It's dark already at this point. It's not going to be pleasant in Santa Clara at 1:05 p.m. on Sunday. It might be 100 degrees. The hottest game in Levi Stadium history prior to this weekend, 88 degrees against Seattle in 2021. I believe that was Trey Lance's first extended action. That was Jimmy Garoppolo straining his calf. Yep, week 3 or week 4, one of those two. I think it was week 3 of the 2021 season. Garoppolo strained his calf. Lance came in. 49ers lost to the Seahawks. They would lose the next week to the Arizona Cardinals as well. That was part of the whole 2-4 start to the 2021 season. And in the NFC Championship game for the 49ers. Anyway, Tim Kawakami and I up on the San Francisco Standard every Friday or before every game, 2 days before every game, we do our 5 fast predictions. 49ers against the Cardinals. There's Brock Purdy against Arizona. This was 2 years ago, I believe, because it was already dark out on the field. Maybe it was last year late in the game, but it could have been against Arizona 2 seasons ago, because that was 2022, I believe, week 18. They actually played the Arizona Cardinals. And this seems like it was later in the year with how the shadows have taken over the field. Last year, it was this week. It was week, or actually it was week. What are we in now? We're in week 5. I think it was week 4 last year where the 49ers played the Cardinals. Purdy went 20 of 21 in that game. Highest completion percentage in 49ers history. Let's take a look at the keys to this game of will the 49ers beat the Cardinals. 1, keep Kyler Murray in the pocket because he can hurt you with his legs. But when we're talking about Kyler Murray and how he's played just scripted offense this year, it's been really good on the first drive, but he has struggled after that. There are some fascinating Kyler Murray splits this year that I'm going to pull up that are really not a good reflection of Kyler Murray or the Arizona offense. It's been good at the start, bad later on for Kyler Murray. So if you can keep him in the pocket as the 49ers, you accentuate the need to play on schedule. The opening 15 plays in 4 games this season, Kyler Murray is 22 of 27 for 290 yards with 5 touchdowns and 1 sack. All other dropbacks, Kyler Murray is 56 of 88 for 530 yards, just 1 touchdown over 88 attempts, 1 interception, and 9 sacks. So if we're going to run a quick completion percentage check, this is from Josh Norris, by the way. He puts up some good stuff. His Twitter handle's at Josh Norris. 22 divided by 27. So on the first scripted 15 plays, Kyler Murray is completing 81% of his passes. After the first scripted 15 plays of every game, Kyler Murray is completing only 64% of his passes. The yards per attempt over the first scripted plays is 290 divided by 27, 10.7 yards per attempt. Later in the game for Kyler Murray, it is 6 yards per attempt. It's a massive, massive reduction for the Cardinals quarterback. On top of that, it seems that a lot of Kyler Murray's effectiveness and stats this year came from just one game against the Rams. He averaged 5.2 yards per attempt against the Bills, which is bad. He averaged 6.1 yards per attempt against the Lions, which is mediocre. And he averaged 6.5 yards per attempt against the Commanders, which might be slightly above mediocre, but not much better. Against the Rams, Kyler Murray averaged 12.7 yards per attempt. So, yes, this is probably making you feel worse about the 49ers' loss against the Rams. But the way that we're looking at it right now, this for San Francisco indicates that Kyler Murray hasn't been great this year. only 4 games in the books. Arizona has the number 10 offense according to expected points per play. But since there are only 4 games in the books, that domination of the Rams is weighing heavier than it will toward the end of the season. And over the past 2 games, the Arizona Cardinals have only managed to put up 13 and 14 points respectively against a pair of below average defenses. Let's take a look at the team tier chart right here, because I think this does a good job setting the table and helps illustrate what I'm talking about. Keep Kyler Murray in the pocket, because then he plays within structure, and he hasn't been great within structure this year outside of that game against the Rams. 49ers are here in the upper right where you want to be. Look at the Arizona Cardinals. The defense hasn't been good. That's going to lead straight into tier 2. But the offense is a little bit above average. They're number 10 in EPA, but only because they got to pick on this defense, the Rams, way down here. Okay, so when they later have gotten to face theoretically a worse defense in the Commanders, they only scored 14 points. When they faced the Lions, who actually are below average defensively, they managed only 13 points. So keep Kyler Murray in the pocket. He's not very tall. He's going to have trouble seeing over the linemen. He's never been consistently good out of structure in the NFL. It's been up and down for Kyler Murray throughout the course of his career. Disciplined pass rush gets the job done for the 49ers. Now, to get to that disciplined pass rush, you've got to stop the run. You've got to stop James Conner. He presents a hell of a challenge for the 49ers. They were better against the run last week against the New England Patriots, though. So this is the next incremental step in the build for the 49ers defense. I think that you add one more component to this. The 49ers spy Kyler Murray with Fred Warner, assuming Fred Warner plays. He was running around at practice today, looked good at practice today. We can play video of that in just a little bit. But if you spy Murray with Warner, or if just pay some defensive attention to the fact that Kyler Murray can escape the pocket, I do think that you cut off what Arizona can do to beat you in this football game. And then the third key, capitalize on Arizona's weak defense. George Kittle pointed out that the games in which the Cardinals have beaten the 49ers in recent years, Budda Baker has 15 to 20 tackles. He's all over the field. Goes to show you that Budda Baker is one of the true plus players on this Cardinals defense. Is there much more beyond that, though? Well, the performance so far this year indicates that there's not. Cardinals are down there with the Eagles as far as very low defensive efficiency. They're in the low 20s, bordering on 30 against the run. They're in the low 20s, bordering on 30 against the pass. Bottom line is that this is an Arizona defense that the 49ers should carve up. And the other bottom line is that the 49ers have carved up this Arizona defense in the very recent past. 20 of 21 for Brock Purdy against the Cardinals the last time Arizona visited Levi's Stadium. And then it was 40 plus that the 49ers hung, maybe 45 on Arizona down in Glendale toward the end of last season. That's when the 49ers clinched the NFC West. I thought Arizona was better the second time they faced them. Their head coach, Jonathan Gannon, had a chance to implement the system at that point, but they obviously weren't a whole lot better, especially defensively. The 49ers were able to run. They were able to pass. What's changed between last season and this season? Not much, it looks like, based on what Arizona has been giving up on the defensive side of the football. The one team that they held to under a couple touchdowns of scoring was the Rams. Again, that probably doesn't help you feel better about the 49ers loss to the Rams. That was a tremendously overmatched team that the 49ers blew it to, but you could turn around and say, well, Arizona's only real success has come against that Rams team. And maybe that illustrates the bigger point here is division matchups can be weird. They usually are weird. Teams know each other a little bit better within the NFC West. So even if you're way better than another football team, it could be close. So that was the case when the 49ers played the Rams, and that's what they have to be careful of when they face the Arizona Cardinals on Sunday. On top of that, the heat factor in this game is extremely interesting because it can exhaust the defense. No, I don't think that Arizona has an advantage because they're used to this kind of weather in the desert. They practice and they play inside up until it becomes bearable outside. So if it's 100 degrees outside, the Cardinals aren't sitting there practicing in it. They're definitely not playing in it. That that's a non-factor. That's something that people are trying to make up without realizing the actual dynamics behind it. But the intradivisional aspect of this means that schematically, you're not going to be able to theoretically dig into your bag of tricks and have them work in the same way that it would work against a team that's a little bit less familiar with you. Players in their one-on-one matchups are extremely familiar with each other. So I'll use an example. George Kittle and Budda Baker, 2019 Halloween night in Arizona. George Kittle did get hurt in this game, but before his leg injury was acting up so much that he had to leave the game, he scored a touchdown against Budda Baker that was one of the most spectacular touchdowns you'll ever see a tight end score, because he was lined up in the slot against a much quicker, theoretically, a much quicker defensive back. Budda Baker came down to cover him, man coverage. And George Kittle ran a slant route that was just out of this world for a guy of his size at 250 pounds. You shouldn't be able to move and change directions that quickly at George Kittle's size, but that's what makes him a future Hall of Famer. So he caught the football. Baker, I believe, caught up to him on the play, got the stiff arm from George Kittle, ran all the way to the end zone. Budda and George know each other really well, and Budda Baker's made some good plays against George Kittle. So it's gone back and forth. That kind of stuff tends to happen in these divisional games, and the 49ers have two of them coming up over the course of the next several days. I believe, and I think the 49ers are looking at it this way too, this is a two-game set. You can't look at this as only one game. So if Jordan Mason is approaching 20 carries, you got to start thinking about, okay, how do you make sure that he's also fresh for the Seattle Seahawks on Thursday night after a flight? Flights don't help you recover. 49ers have to fly from San Francisco to Seattle. It's not far, but it's not a lot of rest between Sunday and Thursday. So you have to make sure that you're as fresh as possible for the Thursday game against the Seattle Seahawks. Then obviously after that, it gets even crazier for the 49ers. But it's this two-game stretch that I view as a set for San Francisco, and I think that they're viewing it the same way. Anyway, the question is, will the 49ers beat the Cardinals? Well, if they do these three things, keep Murray in the pocket, spy with Warner to keep him in the pocket. I don't think he's a great quarterback once that happens. I think that they have the infrastructure to cover Marvin Harrison Jr., and obviously you got to run to make it all happen. And if they capitalize on Arizona's weak defense, which should be self-explanatory, there's no specific matchup the 49ers have to victimize in this game. They're just better mano a mano against this Arizona team. If they do those three things, the answer to the question is yes, the 49ers will beat the Cardinals. We're going to have the score prediction tomorrow. If you want to see the score prediction a little bit sooner, though, then feel free to head right to this spot where Tim Kawakami and I both have our score predictions. There you go. I think that you can guess that Tim also said yes. But the article is on my Twitter page. I'll even retweet it right now for you so you can go to the very top of everything and get access to this article where there it is. 5 fast predictions. Tweeted it 10 hours ago. It's retweeted now. So it is at the very top of the Twitter page. Time to answer your questions before I go get dinner. So we'll open this up to a 49ers Q&A. Not a lot of drama, I think, when it comes to prognosticating this game. San Francisco's got big advantages on both sides of the ball. No guesses as to where Hassan Reddick shows up. That is an insane situation, though. Jets trading for somebody who is willing to die on his sword. He doesn't want to report without a new contract. Not the best move from the Jets, I have to say that. I mean, they had to know they were rolling a dice when they did that. I thought maybe they believed they'd win the staring contest with Hassan Reddick, but at this point, he's winning the stare down. I mean, he's losing money as he's winning the stare down, but no, I don't have any guesses as to what's going to happen in that situation. Bo Adams has got predictions for Brock Purdy. You can drop your predictions into the chat section. Bo thinks Brock is going to go 21-25, 282 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 39 yards rushing. That's awfully specific, but he thinks it's going to be 39 rushing. Will Arizona be able to run the ball? That's one of my keys that I mentioned right now. If they can, yeah, all bets are off. That turns into a game that could be a shootout. If they can't run the ball, 49ers can hold them in the teens. And that's the formula for San Francisco winning these types of games. What will I do to prepare for the weather? Well, I like to be out in the elements in pregame warmups, so I'll drink a lot of water. I'm not going to take IVs. The 49ers are talking about taking IVs and stuff before the game. I don't think I need to take an IV. I'll be in the air conditioning during the game. But before the game, yeah, I'm anticipating this is going to get a little hot. I'm going to continue doing my swimming in the bay, which is a good way to cool off. Even now, the water is in the 60s, so I'd probably go on the swim the morning of the game, and then that will, get the body just about right for the entire warmth of pregame warmups. The hottest part of the day won't be until game time, though. So by that time, I'll be in the press box. I want to show you guys the beautiful sunset today from Aquatic Park right after my swim. It was glorious today with the Golden Gate Bridge in the background. So we're getting that right now. I'm going to put it up on the screen. Here we go. Look at that. Don't have to prepare for this weather, do we? It looked like a painting. It really did. I was like, okay, I'm just going to continue zooming in on the south tower of the Golden Gate Bridge. That right there, and then if you looked at the mountains, so Hawk Hill and everything over there on the right, so crisp and clear against that orange sky. It was really neat. So anyway, swimming in this water down here, I did it right at sunset today. That cools me off on hot days like today or in hot stretches like we're currently seeing. Miguel says, as long as Brock Purdy is the 49ers quarterback, teams need to ask the question, how are they going to stop the big Brock Purdy? Well, he's not that big. He's got big quads. But I think one of the reasons that Brock Purdy has been underestimated over and over and over again is because he's really not that tall. But he's tall enough to operate from within the pocket. That's what's important. And boy, can he move. He's an elite mover. I've said this from the start. I saw it against Tampa Bay when he took over in 2022. I saw it against Miami too, but again, especially against Tampa Bay, he was moving around, especially on right before he had Debo on that one-off schedule play. He knows how to move within the confines of the pocket. It's so impressive. It's elite stuff. I think the casual football fan is probably finally starting to get it now in 2024. But the off-schedule ability of Brock Purdy combined with his accuracy sets the stage for an MVP candidate. And we've seen it over and over again over 2023 and 2024. Didn't Godzilla destroy the Golden Gate Bridge? It's a good question. Still there, though. Evidence says that the Golden Gate Bridge is still in position. So maybe they rebuilt it ever since Godzilla came through in the movie. Waiting for some questions. I'm not going to talk about Devontae Adams and Brandon Ayuk, guys. Come on. We know this channel's better than that. I address it once and then I don't bring it up again. It's one of those things that it's a non-starter because the cap space and the 49ers have a strong receiving room. Brandon Ayuk is going to play his way into form. I don't want to say shape because I think he's a good shape, but I think playing into form is a more accurate way of putting it. We expected September to be slower for Ayuk. It has indeed been slower. The calendar's turned to October. Let's see how that continues to go for the 49ers. Let's talk about some substantive 49ers stuff. We can go, we can talk about here. Why don't we talk about the quarterback picture in the NFL? Jaden Daniels, the start that he's had over here on the top right, that's something for Adam Peters over in Washington. I do predict, though, that Daniels, he's playing at such an absurd efficiency level right now that a regression a little bit closer to the mean is inevitable. It's at 82% completion rate. That'd be an NFL record. Josh Allen, we already saw some regression from him last week against the Ravens. If regression continues for both of these guys, and if Brock Purdy capitalizes on the Arizona defense the same way that he did last year, you could see Purdy take or be right in that top spot vicinity by the end of the week. Look who else is there. Sam Darnold. Really cool stuff. Now I'm going to open up the 49ers roster so we can take a look at what might have happened this week. I always like doing an overarching roster look for everybody about once a week. I think now is probably a good time to do it. You could zoom in on this. I'll share the spreadsheet link with you in the chat section too. I think that can help you if you want to follow along, if it's hard to see. So go to the chat right now. I'm posting it there. If you're watching on Twitter, you can go ahead and go to YouTube. It should be on your screen. But anyway, running back position, nothing of note has happened. We could zoom into. Receiver position, nothing of note has happened this week. Tight end, George Kittle, back at practice for the 49ers today. Offensive line, we had a big breakdown about the directional running of the 49ers. I'm going to have the big defensive statistical breakdown coming out on the FSF standard tomorrow morning. So I know that a lot of you like the graphs and all the tables I made for the 49ers offense and their performance review after 1 month. That's coming for the defense tomorrow morning. So anyway, we talked about the 49ers running to the right behind Purdy and McKivitz along the offensive line. Trent Williams today verified, I asked him about it. He said that that's a testament to the work that Colton McKivitz has done. He's improved as a run blocker, and Dominic Purdy has done a good job for the 49ers as well. Defensive line, now that's a little bit more interesting. Right here, Yetur Gross-Matos is going to shade him in pink because he's out, knee injury for the 49ers in this game. Jordan Elliott, fully active at practice today, so he's going to be back in. So the starting line should be Bosa, Collins, Elliott, and Floyd. But with Yetur Gross-Matos out, Sam Okawanu, who had that really nice game for the 49ers last week, he's going to become even more of an indispensable piece this weekend against the Arizona Cardinals. Robert Beal as well. We'll see if the 49ers sign Jonathan Garvin this week. I don't know if he goes straight to a call-up, but maybe Alex Barrett, the perennial practice squatter, gets a nod for the 49ers. Maybe they feel they need a little bit more defensive end depth for this football game with Yetur Gross-Matos out with the knee injury. Fred Warner, I'm not listing him in pink here because he did practice today. We'll see based on some of the call-ups tomorrow if the plan is indeed for him to play. Him and Kittle are both questionable, but I do think it's trending toward them playing. They did mention that if Warner can't go, look out, Tatum Bethune for the 49ers. Look out with his ability to handle the radio in his helmet. He could be a guy that sees some playing time. That was John Lynch talking about that on KMBR, because the other guy with the potential radio in his helmet, Demetrius Flanagan-Foles, he's out. He's not going to play in this football game. So that means if it's no Warner, no Flanagan-Foles, it's probably Tatum Bethune with the radio in his helmet, although it does look like Warner is going to play for the 49ers. And you've got Jalen Graham. He's back on the team alongside D. Winters. So the 49ers, after a 4-week stint with Graham in Washington, were able to steal him back from Adam Peters after Adam Peters stole him from them. At the DB position, where Talanoa Hufanga, he practiced, so we're going to take off the injury designation from him. I think there's more of a question with Isaac Yiadom, so we can shade him in pink here. Yiadom is going to, if he can't play, then you look at the 49ers going to Renardo Green as the third cornerback, because Renardo Green already had more snaps than Isaac Yiadom last week. 23 snaps, 15 for Yiadom. So they're trying to work the rookie Renardo Green in, and we'll see if they have more of an opportunity this weekend. Stay tuned tomorrow. I have some really, really interesting stats from the cornerback position with Diamaro Lenore and Charvarius Ward showing how the 49ers have operated a corner, and also some stats from the safety position as far as is the safety position covering as well as it did last year. I think you might know the answer to that question at this point, but that's all going to come out on the standard tomorrow. Will the 49ers run a lot of dime stuff against Kyler Murray in Arizona to get Malik Mustafa on the field, even if Talanoa Hufanga is back in the lineup? Stay tuned. I think that's going to be interesting. I don't think you could just pull Malik off the field after his good debut last week. Patrick Willis Hall of Fame ceremony this week during halftime. Should be a good number of former players at the game this week. That will be cool. All right, this has been the show. Will the 49ers beat the Cardinals? My answer is yes. Everybody, thanks for watching. Time for dinner. We'll talk to you soon.